Let's talk about this boycott. Okay. Um, for folks that don't know, we're in the middle of a boycott. You weren't supposed to spend anything on Black Friday, but the truth is, you really kind of don't have to spend anything, man. Don't if you're critical of this government, and the Democrats are your last chance at trying to get some political representation off the ground, and you recognize that they're having a tough time doing so because of the nature of the government right now. Um, you still have some power, and that power is in your pocket. Now, I love this power because I wield it so well, I think. At least for me, I can spend consistent with my heart. Yeah. But right now we're boycotting, right? And, Cyber Monday, may as well share a couple things with you. I might talk a bit here, Q, but I'm going to do my best to get through it quick. Let's first share from the BIN. As boycotts sweep the nation, millions of Americans have the power to step back from corporate spending and support independent Black-owned businesses. Major activist groups, including the People's Union USA, No Kings, and Blackout the System, are calling for coordinated economic blackouts targeting corporate giants. The boycotts are encouraging zero spending at major retailers and tech platforms. Each group involved in the blackout has a distinct focus, but all share a common message of calling out corporate power. No Kings is part of the We Ain't Buying It campaign, is targeting companies they say have undermined DEI or immigrant rights, including Target, Home Depot, and Amazon. The People's Union USA is calling for a freeze on spending at all big box retailers to redirect money toward local economies and small businesses. Blackout the System is encouraging participants to avoid major corporate spending entirely, including canceling streaming services as a critique of economic structures working exactly as designed for the wealthy. I want to share some of these companies, but I'll do that in just a second, because if you plan on participating or are currently participating, you probably know some companies, and if not, they're very easy to find. Again, this article comes from binnews.com, the Black Information Network, and you're welcome to look it up. But I want to jump in here and share a few things. Okay, first off. So, for the folks that don't know, my educational background is in business. I went to business school, and then I went back to business school. I have a master's degree in business management. So these things I pay attention to. They're in my YouTube algorithms and all that sort of stuff. They pop up, and I'm just kind of I'm interested in the psychology of it. I was in marketing for my undergrad. The psychology, what motivates a person to take an action, to buy a thing, right? But all business is relevant to my mind that has been conditioned to receive information and make sense of it. And I learned something a long time ago, that businesses would start moving to a subscription-based model. All businesses. I don't care if you're getting plumbing services. I don't care if you're whatever, maids, or everything. They were going to put you on a subscription model so that they could extract money from you until you die, right? So selling a one and done sort of a thing, it has, that business model has eroded further. Obviously them making light bulbs that burn out after a few months back in the early 1900s. That's an example of planned obsolescence, that sort of thing, where, eventually the thing you buy is not going to work anymore, and it's built into the design of it. This is an evolution of that concept, right? We want you to give us a small amount of money every single month forever, right? Where you're going to subscribe to your car. And if you have the top tier, then your car includes air conditioning. And if you have the mid tier, it doesn't. Like that level of turning a human being into a consumer, right? I say that to say that in this country, we have been led down this road by big businesses, right? I know this because I've been watching this happen. I learned how to do it. I learned that we had already been walked up to that point in the early 2000s when I was still in school. And then I've seen it continue to kind of free fall. Okay. So, in this country, we exist as hyper consumers. We buy so much stuff that we don't need. I was having a conversation with a friend not too long ago about washing my baby in a sink, right? And I was washed in a sink too. And they sell baby bathtubs that you can put in a bathtub, made of plastic and all kinds of wasteful stuff. So you can wash the baby in a bathtub. What's wrong with washing a baby in a sink? You know what I mean? Like this has worked for human beings since human beings existed, right? And all of a sudden we need to make a thing to solve a problem that doesn't exist so that you can buy it. And we'll market it in such a way that where you feel like you need to have it or else you're letting your baby down or you're not keeping up with the Joneses, right? So this is the world that we live in. Now, because this is the world that we live in, we need to understand from where our power comes. Okay. Our power comes from our capacity to participate in this nonsense. Okay. And I challenge everyone listening to me to just stop spending money. Obviously, you need to buy food, choose a grocer, choose a company that most closely aligns with your values, buy your food there. You need to probably put gas in your vehicle or charge your vehicle, whatever the case is. Those sorts of things, they're kind of built into life, unfortunately. So, of course, you need to buy food. It's illegal to forage for food, right? That's because of slavery. When they let the slaves go, they wanted them to work and otherwise arrest them. So you can't go and pick your own food. You have to work and get food and pay for it at a grocery store. That's the way the country's set up. So fair play. But the rest of the stuff you don't have to participate in. And if everybody had the same type of thinking that, you know what, all this stuff that we don't need, we don't have to spend all this money on Amazon.coms and whatever until this president leaves office. Because if we spend money, then he gets to take credit for the economy if the economy does well. And if we don't spend money and the economy doesn't do well, then he and his legacy and the people propping him up, it all crumbles, right? Those soldiers aren't going to go do anything. They're not going to execute human beings on his behalf if they're not getting paid to do it. Well, maybe some of them will, but you know, the point, I think the point is still well made. There's not a country in the world that will run if you take their currency and devalue it, if you wreck their economy. It just will not run. That is a country that is preparing itself to be overthrown. Now, you may not be a sort of burn down a building activist like me. I like talking about myself like that. You might just be someone that says, you know what, I think it's a slap in the face for Donald Trump to take credit for any positive thing in this economy simply because he's the president. And so I just will not contribute to that. And if that is your thinking, I want you to just be conscious of how you spend your money, not just now, not just this weekend, but moving forward. We got 3 years of this, and I challenge you to keep your money in your own pocket. Okay? You might be able to invest. You might be able to make a better path for your children. Maybe they don't have to deal with this nonsense when they come of age, or your grandchildren. I'm not sure what station you're at in life. Maybe you might be able to, you know, it's like when a person quits smoking and they have extra money, or a person stops drinking, a heavy alcoholic, and they stop drinking and they're like, wow, I have thousands of extra dollars, right? If we divorce ourselves from this hyper consumption lifestyle, we end up with more of the fruits of our own labors. Obviously, they're being stolen by billionaires, but we can keep more of our own by not giving it back to them. And we can vote with our dollars every day, day in and day out, that we disapprove of this government. And it is more possible than you know. I'll give you the last word, Q. I'm so sorry, but it's more possible than you know. There's an eBay for every Amazon. There is whatever you need, you can find an alternative. Be creative, ask for resources, plug in a community, buy local, you know, anything that you can, and do your very best. I want to make sure you got the last 30 seconds, so I'll cut it off there, Q. Any thoughts to add there? Sorry,
30,
I know.
30 seconds is impossible. I'm going to remind you of that every time you do it.
I'm sorry.
You talked it out, then tossed to me with no time to say anything. It's very, very inconvenient for poor people to have to find alternatives.
Yeah.
So it's an easy thing for us to say because we can go somewhere else. Some people can't, and that sucks.
So for those who can, obviously this is for you. For those who can't, please, you know, make your way the best you can. And we'll be doing this on your behalf. And hopefully it will be, we will represent you well. So with that in mind, I think it's time to leave it right there. I'd like to thank you, each and every one of you, for tuning in to the QR Code. Today's show was produced by the great Chris Thompson, the person that helped me on the ground in DC. He didn't even know it. If you have some thoughts you'd like to share, please use the red microphone talkback feature on the iHeartRadio app. And while you're there, be sure to hit subscribe and download all of our episodes. Also, fun fact, we might have some merch coming up here pretty soon. So stay tuned for details on that. Also, be sure to check us out on all social media at Civic Cypher. That is CIVICCIPHER. You can check out all of our clips and little things that supplemental materials that go with the show. You can find me on all platforms at Ramses Ja.
I am Q Ward on all social media as well.
And be sure to join us next time as we share our news with our voice from our perspective right here on the QR code. And until then,
peace.
Peace.